And a big shout out to Young Innovations for helping us bring this show to you. You folks truly understand what it means to support and elevate dental hygienists. So thanks for being the champions of our profession and believing in what we do. Welcome to the Dental Handoff. I'm Dr. Kelly Tanner, and today I have with me the famous or infamous Dr. Merlin Ohmer. Dr. Ohmer, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for making time in your schedule to have me.
Yeah, you are world-renowned, so I understand. So
I don't know about that.
I am so interested to hear about your story and your journey. I always start with the question, why dentistry for you? Did you choose it? Did it choose you?
Well, when I was a young child growing up in South Louisiana, I was always interested in something with sciences. And so I looked at different things. I looked at dentistry. I looked at medicine. My father had me, as a teenager, shadow a couple of surgeons that he knew. And I quickly figured out I didn't want to be on my feet 12 hours a day, all night long, standing in an OR. So I looked for another avenue to, to work with people's health and to help them out. And so kind of found dentistry, and real happy that I did.
Now, where did you graduate dental school?
LSU.
LSU. Okay, so you stayed right in Louisiana.
Yeah, LSU. It's in New Orleans, and it was a good time.
And then residency there as well?
I did not do a residency. After graduation, I went into the military for 3 years. Got out, went into practice in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Stayed in the reserve component, and then 10 years after graduation, I went back on active duty and stayed for 27 years that time. So have a total of 30 years active duty time in the military.
Wow. And what is the biggest difference that you noticed in dentistry as you know it as a civilian, as like active duty military dentistry? Was there like a contrast that you noticed?
The biggest issue is, or problem, whatever, is that in the military, you didn't have to beg your patients to pay you. Because all their medical care is covered. So the billing was not a problem. And then when I retired from the Navy and I opened up a practice here in Florida, I was kind of amazed that people would, no, I don't want to pay that. And it's like, I'm here to help you. I'm not doing things just to keep me busy, because I have other things I can keep myself busy with. I'm trying to help you. And, it's the same way I tried to explain, the same way you go to the store, you get what you want. You're expected to pay for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a hygienist on base?
Oh, yeah. We had multiple hygienists. It ran just like a regular practice. Some of them very large. What part of Virginia are you in?
I'm in Williamsburg, Virginia. And so some hygienists who I know practice locally. I wasn't sure if it was here or if it was everywhere where they had hygienists. They love it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Just like out in Norfolk, which is probably one of the largest dental clinics in the world, dental facilities in the world. There's every specialist there. There's hygienists, expanded function dental assistants, registered dental assistants, the whole gambit. It runs like a very huge group practice, except there's no payment required and all the care is provided, and all the special if the patient needs it. So
Yeah.
It was a very ideal place in my mind to practice.
Yeah. The hygienists I know, they love it. They have their schedule. Patients are accepting care because a lot of it, it's
Yeah.
not fee-based. It's not tied to anything. And
Right.
so I'm sure that was a big surprise for you. I mean, what a learning curve when you went out into private practice.
Yeah. Again. Yeah. And I just assumed that if people show up on your doorstep and ask you to take care of them, that they wanted to be there, and they accepted what went along with it. But it's all good.
Now, did you join another practice or did you start solo? Or
I bought a practice from a retiring dentist, and kept that for 8 years. No, yeah, 8 years.
And
And
then
then sold that about a year and a half ago because I knew I was embarking upon this journey with the Academy of General Dentistry, and realized that it was a very full-time job. And I was in a solo practice by myself and knew there's no way I could put in all the time I needed to for the AGD and put in the time I needed to maintain a viable practice. So I found a buyer, sold it, and now this is my new journey in life.
and your position there is it kind of like a 3-year where it's like what they call it,
It's a 3-year. Yes, okay. It's you run for office nationally and you get elected as the vice president. Then the following years you're president-elect, and then this year is the presidential year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that for other, like ADHA, it's the incoming president, and then they're not in the VP seat before, but it makes sense that would be what. So it's interesting to me how different associations.
Yeah, it's a 3-year term actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you most excited about in your role?
Being able to get out and meet our members, being able to put a face to the names I've seen over the year, interact with them, and try to help them with their dental journey. Some of the members are very young. I've met a lot of the students, gone to a few of the dental schools that I really enjoyed. Seeing the younger people, their energy, feeling their energy and their excitement about their career in dentistry. And also interacting with people with every stage in their practice, and encourage them to get all the continuing education that they need, and then encourage them get a little bit more. Always be a learner, be a lifelong learner, because that's how you grow and that's how you stay current, and that's how you're able to absolutely do the best you can for your patients. Yeah,
it's to be in the position that you're in to impact those. I know that you're probably not you can't really vote as president, can you?
I only vote on the board to break a tie. And so far this year, I'm 10 and a half months into this, and so far no ties.
Okay. Yeah, I found that surprising when I was president of the Virginia Dental Hygienists Association. You think that there's this power and authority, and you're like, I can't even vote.
No, there's no power.
Yeah, the illusion of power. But there's the leadership there is so instrumental in how it shapes the profession. And, as you're traveling, how often are you traveling and going to different places?
It's been averaging about 2.5 times a month. September, I was gone four different trips in September. So that was a little rough because most of the trips are leave on a Thursday, come back on a Sunday evening, and all the stuff that you used to having the weekend for. Well, your weekend wasn't there. Your weekend was helping other members and being there for the organization. So
you really have to have a servant heart to be in this position that you're in.
Absolutely. And I really enjoyed. really enjoy helping people and interacting with other members. So
what is probably the one question that you get all the time that people always ask you, like their favorite question? If you had one thing that stood out to you, they said, Dr. Ohmer, what do you think about this? Or what should I do about that? Do you know what that might be?
Well, it's kind of varied. This year, we've been in the middle of governance reform opportunity, and so a lot of the questions are centered around what we're doing with that, what that's going to look like, how's the progress. And then as some people see the progress, I don't like that progress. I want a different progress, which is normal, which is very normal with people, with humans, and especially those involved in an organization, a special organization like the AGD is. Our members tend to be very tied to the academy, tied to the fellowship and the camaraderie that we experience, and they look at the AGD almost as like their second home or second practice, that they really feel a great tie to it. So there's a lot of passion. That's the one thing that I'm really impressed about. Besides the members looking for great quality continuing education and availing themselves of that, is the passion that they have for the profession and the organization.
So what advice would you give? You've talked about your transition, your journey in terms of, you left the Navy, you retired from active duty, you went and you bought a practice from another doctor, which is no small feat, because did you inherit that team as well? Some?
Yes, I inherited the team, but within a month, most of the team scurried away, which was a bit of a challenge, to, as one or two would leave, to go replace them and get them integrated and build the brand, build the cohesion necessary for a real small. It was a small 4 treatment room practice. So
because I work with a lot of offices that are transitioning, I'm consulting their teams and going in for leadership, communication, and the doctor does in fact inherit the team. And what kind of advice would you give to those who are in that situation? Like, looking back, what would you say? Man, I probably should have done blank. What would you say?
So general advice in inheriting a team and any type of organizational structure, if you really believe and you really feel as though and know in your heart that a certain team member is not right for your team, my advice is, instead of stringing it along, trying to make it work, it's usually better to go ahead and cut that piece off, and rather than let one person keep the rest of the team in turmoil. And because it typically never works. Once you realize that, typically never works, go ahead and move on and start fresh with somebody that embraces your values and what you're looking for whatever practice setting, team setting, organizational setting that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. So holding on to that team member that that you feel in your gut and you can probably sense doesn't want to be there. Because it resonates through the entire practice, and the team is wondering, because there's probably behaviors that go along with it that the rest of
absolutely.
The rest of the team is going, why is that happening?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's probably my biggest piece of advice, is when you know that it's time to cut bait, just go ahead and cut it. And
yeah. And then so with a 4-op practice, you kept that those number of opportunities while you were there. And so, everyone was, because it's a smaller practice, it's a small knit team. And what did you find was successful in leading that team? Once you got the right players in the right seats, what did you find that was successful?
Well, with that team, just like the teams I had in various leadership positions in the military and now in my organizational life, I think the biggest thing that you can do is to let people know that you care about them. Take interest in aspects of their life. And if they're going through a hard time, or they got a new pet, one of their old pets is sick or something happened or some changes in their lives, just make sure that you show the proper level of empathy to them and just let them know that you care. That works on every level. Every level of life really is people want to know that if you're interacting with them, that you care about them.
Absolutely. Yeah, even if sometimes if you don't agree with their standpoint on something, that they're validated in how they are and who they are, and
Right.
that empathy goes a long way.
It does. I think so. You have to, you can't be their friend. You're not there to be their friend, but you can be a good leader by showing that you do care.
Yeah. And so fast forwarding to now, when you sold, well, I guess a little bit ago, when you sold the practice to go in to transition into where you are, how did that feel to you? Like, what were the emotions with that?
It's interesting that you asked that. For the first few months, I felt like, because there were, as in any practice, there are patients that get to know you, you get to know them, they're regulars, when they show up, about their family, et cetera, et cetera. I kind of miss that. I kind of miss that with a lot of them that I grew to know, and not being able to interact with them and check with them. But I guess my life in the military, moving every 2 to 3 years, helped me with that, because you had to uproot, move to a different part of the country. You left behind what friends you made. You left behind some of the patients that you got to know, and you had to move on to a different setting, a different practice background, a different job. Some jobs, I had a couple of jobs that had nothing to do with practice of dentistry, but you just moved on.
Yeah, that's. I guess that would set things up for you to make sense, to be able to say, "Hey, I've done this before," to connect those dots. Yeah. Familiar.
Right. I know.
And it's, but then to know that it was yours and you handed it off to someone who you were trusting it with is probably a little flavor of ice cream too. That's different.
That does. Yeah. That was difficult. That was very difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's going to be something like, we have another 6 weeks left in this position. And so come the weekend, the Sunday prior to Thanksgiving is when we have our transition. And after I leave this, there's going to be a little bit of, missing the interaction, missing the constant day-to-day activities with the organization, working on projects, ensuring things are going right, and missing the people that I've interacted with almost on a daily basis for the past few years. So I'm going to have to find something else. I'll have to try to pick up my tennis game, because it's been suffering the past couple of years.
Not your golf, but your tennis?
My tennis, yeah. Golf moves a little too slow for me.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm good for 9 holes. So what do you think, in terms of leadership skills over the last 2 years that you've served the association, what do you think you have leaned into or developed the most in the last few years?
I've really tried to work on, and I think I have the last few years, is become a better listener, and not just frequently. Most of the time, you have your own opinion, your own thoughts, your own path outlined in your mind, but to be able to include other people's thoughts, to become a better listener, to sit and listen before you talk, and listen and process. I think that is a key talent that leaders have to have. The reason you have a team, the reason in this organization we have a board, is that everyone has their input, has their own thoughts and their own beliefs, and what is the right way to proceed. And it's incumbent upon the leader to let everyone express his or her own opinion, and then process what you've heard, and then make the decision if the decision is incumbent upon you.
Absolutely. Our perception is so unique to us. There's only one us and only one perception. And so with everyone coming to the table with all those different lenses of how they're seeing things, unless you stop and you are more interested than interesting, you never get to understand fully quite the composite of all the thoughts and understandings, and also the meaning that people are bringing to the decisions that are being made, is what I've found.
Right. I agree with that 100%.
So was there a time do you remember the time? Because I think I remember the time when I learned it, when I got it, and I was like, I really need to stop talking. I was chair side. And I think that I was probably like 25 years old or something, where I realized that for myself. Did you have an aha like that?
As I move up and more involved with leadership, I've realized that, especially over the past few years. And it's one thing that my fiance has really beat into me since 3 years ago when I took on this role. It's like, remember, be quiet, don't always talk. And she every big meeting, she's beat it into me. So it's sinking in a lot more.
Okay. So I love how other people in our lives can truly point out the blind spots that we have and bring things to light on us, because they're seeing tendencies. Sometimes we're annoying them with those tendencies, right? And they're just like, stop talking. But sometimes they can see it, and they're observing you cutting off your nose to spite your face kind of thing. And they're like, it's hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, because, she always told me, says, you're a little ADD, so you need to relax and breathe and let other people talk. So I go, yes, dear.
And would you say that you have any words of advice to the future dentists? Anything, words of wisdom that you want to put forward to the audience?
Yeah. So whatever stage you are in your career, ensure that you maintain a high level of ethics, that you're ethically beyond reproach, you remain a professional, educate yourself at whatever appropriate level you are and want to be. Keep on pushing. If you fall, when you fall, get yourself up, brush yourself off, and keep going towards the goal, because there's nobody that has had a high level of success that hasn't had multiple failures in their life. And I know it's not cool nowadays to use the word failure, but it is. If you don't have failures, you're not going to learn. But you can't let them take you over. You have to learn from them, learn what you did not do well, and correct the action to proceed forward.
Yeah, learning opportunities. I still say the word failure too, because it's our perceived failure. So I think that's the language that we use inside of ourselves to
Hmm.
see whether it was a success or whether it was a failure. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And that's where the learning happens, because if you won every single game, if you played football or tennis or whatever, have you learned as much as you could have? It's through those opportunities of when it didn't turn out when you like you expected, relationships, dental practices, French,
Right.
whatever in life, that you go, man, I could have done that a lot differently.
Right. Yeah. It's through adversity that we grow.
Hmm. So maybe instead of failure, we say adversity. I don't know, but
I don't know. I'm good.
adversity would work.
I'm good with failure. It's okay.
Yeah, because I mean, think about dental school. How many times you had to get a certain grade to learn it. It wasn't perfect the first time, but we put this pressure on ourselves to have that perfection, to say, no, this is absolutely how to do it. But when you hold space in your life to say, okay, what else, how else could I make this better or improve it?
Right.
Or if you just don't even know that there is room for improvement, you have the
Right.
blinders up.
Right.
That's an
Yeah.
issue.
I mean, I went to dental school in the 70s, so they were not nice. It was a very adversarial
Yeah.
learning uh, environment. So you had to toughen up, take what they gave you, and keep moving, because that was part of the that was part of the game that they played, is to see how you could respond to adversity, respond to non-ideal situations. So
Yeah.
it's no big deal.
Which is part of
Like,
being in a dental practice. It
yeah,
it's not, I don't know if that's the way it should be taught. Like, the beatings will persist until morale improves, right? But
right,
I mean, because that's what I also experienced in hygiene school. It's like the cringe and the PTSD behind it. But if everything is always Mai Tais and Yahtzee, how do you truly learn about all the potential pitfalls and the ways that you have to navigate conversations?
right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because that was the days that they would, after you would wax a crown and you would show them your wax pattern, that they would hold it between their fingers and crush it and say, "Try to do it again."
How many hours would that take you?
Oh, it took me a long time then. And that's why after I graduated, I swore I'd never wax another crown again in my life. That's why we have dental labs, because I just stopped immediately then. I got not doing it.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation about. I wonder what our potential could be if our dreams weren't crushed like a small
Yeah,
like a small wax up in
right.
front of us. No,
Yeah.
your ego. That was your ego,
Uh-huh.
as you cried. But no, and it wasn't just your school; it was everywhere.
It was everywhere. It was everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That was
how?
the type of learning that existed then.
Yeah, and I think to some extent it is still present, like it's still ingrained in some institutions, but learning can just be so much different. So we've
Right.
learned.
Yes, for
But
sure.
are there any final words that you'd like to offer the audience before we set you free?
Just to continue on what I was saying is, be persistent, set goals, and you will stumble. Get yourself up and keep pursuing your goals and dreams. And as with every aspect of your life, be the best you can be. And sometimes today is better than it can be tomorrow. It's just the way it is. It's at that particular point in time, do your best and be your best.
Yeah, and you got to trust yourself and that your decision making at
Right.
that point in time is the best that it can be. Because a lot of us can look back to say, man, I should have done da 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 da. But if you
Right.
trust yourself going into it to make the best decision, and you know yourself well enough to know that you've done absolutely everything you can to make the best decision, you have to know that 10 years from that, you did everything you could.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
you stay true to your moral compass, your true north.
Absolutely, Kelly.
Well, it has been a delight getting to know you. Anyone who wants to reach out to Dr. Ohmer, his contact information is in the show notes. Show notes are below the episode. His info is in there. And I'm sure you could probably get a couple of signatures while he's still president, while you guys are out there, or IPP as well. Do you do signings?
I'll do a signing for anyone. And, with that and $10, they can go get a Big Mac extra value meal,
You still can get that from with that amount of money? That's interesting.
I don't know. $10? I don't know. It could be more than that. I don't know.
Yeah, right. But at least a part of a Happy Meal. Well, Dr. Ohmer, thank you so much for your time and your service in serving our profession.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
It's an honor. Well, to our listeners, you know what I always ask. Well, thank you for being here. And go on over to Apple Podcast and click the 5-star review. Give us a nice, loving comment. But more importantly, thank you for what you do every day. And then if you like this episode, go on over to YouTube, like, subscribe, share to all those folks who you just love, love, love. And we will see you next time, my friends. Be well.